Hi everyone, TSW here. I hope this video finds you well. The PTR came out very recently for tier 5. We didn't kill all of it. I was pugging and we killed Allah, we killed Void Reaver. Again, we were pugging it. We didn't kill Solarian because that's a bit tough when people have no idea what they're doing. And I joined another guild, semi-guild raid. We did Hydros. No, they'd already killed Hydros. I did Lurker, Leotheus the Blind, Morrigan Tidewalker, and Fathom Lord Kelithras. And then the gate was closed and we couldn't go to Vash. Feels bad, man. Okay, so let's start off with Allah. This needs to be fixed because it's not pre-nerf. A lot of things in the PTR are not pre-nerf. It makes me think that Blizzard just didn't take a look at it at all. They've done very sloppy development of tier 5 so far, it seems. Like, how can this be? Like, you're just wasting the time of the PTR being up. I don't understand. Anyway, there are only 4 platforms currently on the PTR as of time of recording, and Allah is tauntable. He only summons one ad when he goes to a different platform. He always goes around in a clockwise motion from platform to platform. It's honestly a bit of a joke, really. The first phase is a complete joke. You can taunt the boss. It's so silly. Like right here, he's just come to his last platform, then he'll cycle round again. You can taunt, so I've got all the threat of the previous boss, which means that melee can attack. Well, it's good for melee. Melee meta becoming a thing. And the pets, like initially before we were taunting, because he should be taunt immune, the pets were dying because they would continue threat from one platform to another. And when it would go to a new tank, they're starting fresh. So now he should be going around to another platform, but he doesn't. He goes back to the first platform area, and this is just plain wrong. But hey ho. I will be coming out with a whole video about raid leading and strategy for Trash and the bosses for SSC and Tempest Keep. So stay tuned, stay subscribed for all of that. That should be really good. And I'll go through in depth what's going on. I'm very hesitant to make any kind of strategy video based on what the PTR is like, because if I'm going through pre-nerf strategies and this is what ends up being actually going on live, my videos aren't going to be accurate, which is a massive shame because they take a huge amount of time. This is just a voiceover from the Twitch highlights that I've just made for these bosses. So this is an easy video to make, whereas any kind of like guide is, you know, a week's work. So he did his I can't remember what it's called, where he goes to the center of the room and the tanks need to jump off. He does his Quill ability that kills anyone on the platforms where I'm standing now. So anyone up here will die. So again, he just goes around clockwise. So he goes around here to this platform, and then he just, you know, keeps going around clockwise. So we're about to kill him. He's at 5% HP. Again, he's only spawning one ad. The Paladin tank, who was actually the raid leader in this pug, he was saying that he probably could just wear block gear and we not actually kill any of the ads, any of the phoenixes which he's tanking near the entrance of the room, which is interesting. Again, there's only one ad being spawned. It's crazy. I can't remember who your name is. I'm sorry. There was someone in the Twitch chat who had already done this the night before, the very night that tier 5 was out on the PTR. And they were saying that the dive bomb, which looks a bit like a meteor effect, where you normally pre-nerf would stack to split the damage of the raid, the damage isn't being split, and it's not even high damage anyway. So you can have the whole raid spread, as you'll see in a minute, and it's so silly. What should happen, like I say, is that the whole raid stack, and then the damage is very, very high, and it's split for between 25 people so that people don't die. Whereas here, I think, is this first one going to be on a warlock? And he doesn't even die. I don't know where the two of the deaths come from. I wasn't looking closely enough. I also wasn't logging. I didn't have the advanced combat log ticked in the PTR, so I've only got Morrigan Tidewalker logged myself, which is really annoying because I would really like to see several things out of the logs and just look at some of the mechanics, because that would be interesting to see. Such as the debuff, which goes on the tanks, which reduces their armor. I'm pretty sure that this is avoidable, but it's quite nice to know, because items like Morose's Lucky Pocket Watch can be very useful if you wanted to attempt to one tank this phase. If you know that the armor debuff is coming soon, you can pop your Morose's Pocket Watch for 8 seconds of insane avoidance and try and dodge the debuff. So for example, if you wanted your feral to be cat as much as possible during this phase, you could, as a warrior, perhaps try Morose's Pocket Watch, get lucky, or get, more often than not, avoid the attack, the armor debuff, and just keep going. That sort of thing would be really interesting to see. And I think the other warrior is actually going to dodge one of them in this fight. So he's just received the debuff, so I've taunted off. Very nice. And yeah, generally speaking, again, back to phase 1, like the boss doesn't hit very hard. In phase 2, the boss doesn't hit very hard. Again, this is a pug. We didn't have very good healers, full stop, and we had very poor healing assignments, I think. There were times where I genuinely was almost dying in phase 1, and it's not because the boss is hitting hard, it's because I don't receive heals for 8 seconds. The boss hits for like 3k. What is he hitting here for? About 3k? It's hard for me to see the combat log in the top left whilst I'm recording, but I can see the 3k, 3.6k, like it's absolutely a joke. Obviously, when you get the debuff with the reduced armor, his damage does not become a joke, but that's when you want to be mindful of the cooldown of Allah's armor debuff, and then just be staring at the enemy or the target frame or the other tank to make sure that you're taunting as soon as the armor debuff goes on. Like, see there, the warrior off tank almost dies. So again, he flies up periodically. This is where we should be stacking pre-nerf, but we're not. We're just spread out. He's going to do his dive bomb, which looks like the meteor, and then he spawns from the meteor. So you can't get too close. This is about as close as I felt comfortable getting to him, because he does the knockback, and I got knocked back earlier when he came out of the dive bomb. Also, you want to, so this is a thing that we had on private servers a little bit, where he would do his charge and he would, like reset threat, and it'd be a bit clunky. Don't be afraid to taunt the boss, because this can be really useful for his charge. There were times, and I think this is a bug throughout a lot of bosses in tier 5, is mobs like Trash and bosses like Allah, they will charge and do a melee attack at the same time. I think this is a bug. I can't imagine this is intentional, but the same with Allah and some of the, is it Peacekeepers? Barrier? Some of the Trash before Leotheris the Blind in SSC, they will charge and also do a melee attack, which is crazy. So if at any point you're currently tanking Allah and Allah does a charge, you just want to be spamming the taunt button as well. Also here, when the Allah finishes his dive bomb, he's done his AoE that increases fire damage taken. This is another thing where you want to be taunting as early as possible. So you want to be as close to him after the dive bomb as you can, and then just taunt him. There's no reason that a taunt could be bad, even if you don't need it, if you're assigned to tanking him when he comes straight out the dive bomb, because you can just avoid taking the extra debuff for the raid, increasing fire damage taken. Okay, so that's Allah. Again, I'll go into more detail in a proper guide in the future when we actually hopefully see some pre-nerf on the PTR. Okay, so as you can see, we're on Void Reaver now. And this fight is as easy as you would expect. On the PTR currently, hunters cannot use their range attacks. I think all of our hunters are meleeing because on our first attempt they were trying to use their ranged weapons, but they were still getting hit by the big spark. So we've got 3 hunters. Oh, are the hunters maybe... I wasn't paying attention to the raid at all, I'll be honest. I think we've got 3 hunters who are kiting the sparks. So they're doing a bit of damage between kiting the sparks. So the old school strategy was that you would have the whole raid stood in a big circle around the boss, and then when the spark was coming to you, you would move. So it would be like a 1 in, however many range players you had, 1 in 18 or something chance that the spark would be flying to you, and then you would simply move out the way. The strategy that is used these days is you have one person who will just run in circles around the boss, a hunter, and they will just attack the boss and dodge every single spark that is thrown their way. It's guaranteed to be thrown their way because it will only attack someone at range. And the issue is currently on PTR is you cannot do that. You cannot be far enough from the spark or far enough from the boss to attack with a ranged weapon as a hunter, whilst being close enough to the boss to avoid the spark being thrown. Okay, so I expect that to be fixed. I hope the hunters can actually attack the boss, unless this is some, pre-nerf thing that I'm not aware of, where you can't stay far enough away to avoid having to melee as a hunter. We'll see. So as for the tanking side of things, it's as I would expect. There were 2 times, I believe, in this attempt where threat did not drop low enough from me for it to cause a tank swap when I got the pushback. Also, the pounding does not seem to hit super hard. People are still half HP after the pound. It doesn't hit too hard. People dying now are just from over aggroing. The best strategy is to just give the tank group every lust, and then the ranged players, or the damage players I should say, can just do their full normal damage rotation without a care in the world for threat, because the tanks get assisted with every lust or heroism for their threat generation. So the tanks get all the assistance for threat with the lust and heroes, and the rest of the raid get no lust or heroes, but they get good threat from the tanks. And you can see the threat meter on the right hand side of the screen. And it's business as usual. One other thing I would mention is, because what I like to do is dual wield as a warrior, and then berserker rage for the pounding. And what I'm used to on private servers is with a berserker rage plus pounding. So you dual wield, you berserker rage, go back in defensive stance, and just spam devastate. I'm used to the pounding hitting harder, and you getting loads of rage with berserker rage and the higher hitting pounding. So you have loads of rage. Here it wasn't so amazing, but what's really good here is using a Dragon Maw, the blacksmithing mace. It's really good here if you're just spamming devastate. Devastate's hitting like 50, maybe 60 damage extra than if you were using maybe King's Defender, for example. So here you see all the people over aggroing are just dying because the tank's threat is getting dropped significantly when they get the knockback, which is the threat drop mechanic of Void Reaver. Again, if some of these tactics are, I'm not going into detail with them, don't worry so much, because I will go into more detail when I do a full video. I'll do the whole of TK in one video and the whole of SSC in one video. It will include trash as well, because I think that trash is often forgotten about with a lot of people going through guides, and it's, the majority of the raid is trash. So it's definitely worth going over. And, if you're going to have your guild or something, look at a guide, you might as well look at one source for information on everything. I was looking at a guide on a website the other day, and it's like, wow, there's like 2 paragraphs per boss with, you know, just the boss abilities mentioned, and it's like, okay, well, how are you overcoming these abilities? What's good, what's bad, what do you die from, what's most deadly, you know, what's really easy? I don't know. Anyway, that's what I hope to achieve with my guide. You can be the judges of how good it is when it gets released, which I don't know. I'll do SSC first. I already have like a Tempest Keep kind of like just commentary like this, where I go into a bit more detail about the trash and the mechanics of the bosses. So that's like a private server thing. I'll link it in the description if anyone wants like a sneak peek of something that it might be like, and then I'll do like a proper SSC one soon, followed by a Tempest Keep one. So Void Reaver's his HP starting to drop a little bit slower now because people are dead. Again, the Berserk, the Enrage is so long, we're not scared at all. It's so easy. It's a joke. Again, this is a pug. And I think we two-shot because the hunters wiped us on our first attempt because, like I say, they were trying to attack the boss with their ranged weapons, and the sparks that are emitting from the boss were just blowing up the raid. So all around, I mean, it was fun. And, you know, it's always kind of fun because we're playing on legit Blizzard servers, but at the same time, I've had more fun in a gameplay sense playing it on private servers, definitely, because and also we're going into this content with pretty much BIS tier 4 gear. You know, if you've been raiding any appreciable amount of time on TBC Classic already, you've done a few Karas, you've done a few Mags, a few Gruuls, you've got, you know, hopefully 1 or 2 DSTs, you've got a few, you know, tanks with the really cool Aldori Legacy Defender Shield, you've got some tier 4, you know, half your range camp have an epic main hand spell damage weapon. You know, you're going into this pretty geared, and yeah, everything's just going to flop, by which I mean the bosses are just going to tumble because you're going into this geared. Okay, so now we are at SSC. So our pug didn't kill Solarian because we had pugs and they were awful. But yeah, we still killed 2 bosses. So we killed 2 bosses where people, you know, were awful. Anyway, I don't want to like trash on people, but you know, a pug is a pug, you know? And people just didn't know what they were doing. Okay, so Lurker Below. So I'm in here with a semi-guild run. This is the Guild Resist that I've done some other beta testing with in the past. So thank you to Varbane and crew for having me for the raid. We are on Lurker. We didn't one-shot Lurker. It was a 2-shot when I was there. But personally, I could have played a lot safer if we were actually attempting the one-shot. So I'm playing... Oh, yeah. I'm not playing a tank. So I said I could play Moonkin, and here I am on a Moonkin. So I threw this together, hence why there aren't many action bars filled with spells. So one thing that I learned from the Moonkin is I'm used to playing Moonkin in tier 6, and I'm spamming Starfire, and yeah, just spamming Starfire and having a great time doing it. Here in phase 1 gear, I have so much mana, it's insane. Like, I am not used to having this much mana. Also, I think when I was farming tier 6 on a private server as Moonkin, I wasn't using mana pots because I was like anti-consume. I was like, it's my ult and I didn't care, so I just spam Starfire, nothing else. Well, obviously very far. Anyway, yeah, as a ranged person, you can throw a couple of dots or debuffs on the melee mobs because they spawn earlier than these casters. So these casters will melee you if you are melee range. I learned that here, so let's walk away. So I've got threat of this mob, but if I stand at range, it can't melee me. It does very little, which is great. I don't think we tested CCing these mobs to see if they would still trigger a respawn of these mobs when you get the next ad phase. So that's something to be mindful of. Also, these melee mobs, there are 3 of these male Nagas that spawn, and the strategy I'm used to seeing is that you would stack them and cleave them with melee. We've got a very small melee camp in this raid, and yeah, so the melee 3 male Nagas are tanked near the islands, so that when I was attacking at the island, I can be in range of my range spells, and I like that. I'm here combat resing people, so I'm losing a lust here. Combat resing this guy, and yeah, good times. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Let's go back to my range position. Yeah, so as for tanking and an overall outlook of Lurker, it's harder for me to have an opinion because I'm playing a role that I'm not very used to. But it's looking okay. We can see the tank is dipping himself just into the water for the whirl. So according to DBM, the whirl's coming. Oh, he might be doing the spout first. Yeah, so the tank dips into the water to avoid the spout. I dip into the water as well to avoid the spout. Oh, you still have the case of if I have a lust, I struggle getting up onto this platform out of the water. So be mindful of that. He does the whirl straight after the spout, I believe. Is he going to whirl? There's the whirl. The tank dips into the water and avoids getting knocked back. I think there were a couple of cases where the tank did get knocked back without dipping into the water. So here we go, another phase 2. You can see me position myself away from the caster mob, get the Fey Fire on the melee mob, maybe drop a Moonfire, get that dot ticking, and then swapping to the caster mob, which is the priority for the caster group I'm in to kill. Again, there's plenty of damage to kill all of these mobs. It's really quite trivial. It's just assign things. So if I were raid leading in a fresh guild, you would just go through the fight before the initial pull and just position people. We've got one ranged group per island, more or less, and it's our job to kill the 2 female Nagas that come to our island, and then the third mob being the melee Naga. You have 3 tanks assigned to each location, and you spread your healers for the 3 islands, and then when it's back to the boss phase, you just have the vast majority of your healing on the tank. Oh, there's the knockback. That's not good. So he whirls. Oh, no, but oh, he's doing the spout instantly. Okay. So that works as well. What I would tend to do is just eat the whirl and get knocked back into the wall behind the tank, but that works as well. And this is where I realise I've got so much mana, I don't know what to do, so I start casting my other spells. Like, it's insane how much mana I've got as a Moonkin. I was not expecting this at all. I'm obviously haven't played Moonkin for like 5 years. Ha ha ha. Okay, so also when the boss is fished, he did a melee swing. I think as soon as the lure caught the boss. So at the beginning, you can rewind the video if you like. When the boss is initially spawning, he does a melee swing and one of the paladins goes to half HP, which is a bit interesting. So I don't know if that was so I think it was the paladin tank, fortunately, who took the melee swing, but I don't know if it was him who was fishing for the boss and him who caught the boss, because that could be interesting. If you want to avoid getting one shot by the boss, you want your tanks to be the ones who are fishing him. That could be awkward. And also I think that's a bug. We'll see. I'll be streaming on Twitch, link in the description, if you do want to see more PTR action. So here we are on Leotheris the Blind. Oh, this fight is bugged. Again, I should have said this at the beginning, but this is obviously the PTR thing for testing. Things are going to change. Don't expect this is what live is going to be like, please. Things will change. I hope that a lot of things change. So these ads are going to be doing their Mind Blast. It's kickable, and I think it should be doing AoE damage. Yes, I think that Mind Blast went out and a few people dropped HP in melee, so that's good, although it doesn't seem to do much damage at all. You can barely notice it on the raid frames. So yeah, it's doing the AoE, but at the same time, I'd like triple the damage of that Mind Blast, please. So we're just stacking these and cleaving them together. I'm getting ready to hop on Leotheris the Blind. I get a bit scared with him moving this way so quickly, but it's all good. Get the Fey Fires on, and then just blast some Starfires. So you'll see, if you're familiar with Leotheris, a massive bug in about, well, when he does his Whirlwind. According to the DBM timer, Demon phases in 30 seconds. Is he not going to Whirlwind first? Again, I'm surprised how good the DBM timers are. They're not perfect though. So this is his Whirlwind phase, where he's meant to be focusing on a random player every 5 or 8 seconds, and he'll just sprint towards them, whirlwinding, and then pick someone else and sprint and whirlwind towards them. Loads of people take whirlwind damage, and it has a stacking dot debuff, or at least a dot debuff. And here he just stands still and whirlwinds, and I don't think it stacks. I think the pre-nerf is that it doesn't stack, but anyway. So here he is in his demon form. He's throwing out his fire damage, and when it lands, it deals AoE damage to everyone around the landing location of his spell. Oh, we get a lust. You're killing your inner demons if you have one. Here are the inner demons on their way. Luckily, I don't get an inner demon. I'm hitting tab on my keyboard just to make sure that the demon that I can see right on top of me isn't mine, just in case the nameplate or something isn't showing properly, because again, PTR, you don't know what you're going to get, so play it safe. And yeah, I mean, this is pretty much the fight. It's just tank and spank until 20%, well, I say tank and spank. Tank and spank gets used way too much, and I've just used it myself there. But anyway, at 20% HP, we will get both the demon and the humanoid. Ideally, what you do is you have your warlock tank who tanks the demon, reset their debuff stacks before 20%, so that when they split, the tanks, the normal conventional tanks, are tanking the boss, and the warlock who's tanking the demon then starts to accumulate fresh stacks of the debuff. Oh, this is me when I go Papega mode. Yeah, I shouldn't have been attacking after the whirlwind. I felt a bit bad there, so I'm just here not doing any damage. I'm like, okay, fuck it, I'll just hard commit to no damage. I didn't think Moonkins could out-threat anything, but I guess I proved the rule wrong. But again, against the Warlock, it'll be very difficult for me to out-threat the Warlock tank here. Searing Pain versus Starfire. I think I like my odds of just spamming and not pulling aggro. Oh my god, do I pull aggro again here? Oh my god, how do I pull aggro with the boss? Like, I've never, like, how is this possible? Is what I'm thinking right now. Like, what? Anyway, we'll see. Again, I wish I logged this, because I'd love to see the Warlock's damage and what he was doing on the boss during this, because I've never seen, like, normally we have lusts as soon as the demon phase starts. I don't know, like, as a prot warrior, I've been devastating, dual wielding and like spamming threat as a warrior and not pulling threat off the demon tank. Anyway, yeah, I should have been playing it safer. Do as I say, not as I do. So here we see the split. Oh, is it a 15%, not 20%? Okay, my mistake. So now he's phasing. We get him down 1% even before he unleashes and becomes active after the split. We've got people saying WTF. Don't know what's going on. The demon is just running around all over the place. Like, is the guy marked Moon is tanking the demon and is just running through the raid. Interesting, interesting. Now the hunter is tanking the demon. Now I'm taking damage from the demon. Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter what happens with the demon. Anyone can tank the demon. Like, it's easy. And the whirlwind is very bugged. Okay, so moving on to Fathom Lord Kerithres. We have a boss. The first attempt, this is our second attempt. The first attempt, we actually tried to just zerg down Fathom Lord Kerithres on his own, and unfortunately he did hit a little bit too hard and the tank died. But we got him down to like 50% HP, so it's maybe possible, but not just yet. We'll see, we'll see. Okay, so we're doing the normal strategy now. So we're killing Fathom Guard, Tidal Vest. He's the shaman who does like a whirlwind ability. Sorry, I say whirlwind. I mean wind fury ability. So we've got the tornado that we're dodging as well. And this is, again, as far as I can see, I'm just here spamming Starfire. So as far as I can see, this was one of the better bosses out of all of them that I tried on the PTR so far. But again, I'm not really interacting with many of the mechanics, just the tornado, really. Oh, one huge thing that I will mention, which is relevant for this boss and also the trash before and after Leotheris, is you cannot make a macro to target a totem. The guild that I was with told me that this is because we're using a Legion client, and in Legion you cannot use a target macro to target totems. So currently on the PTR, and I don't know if this is the same for TBC Classic as it stands, I've not done anything where I've needed to make a totem target macro so far, but that's an interesting thing that just, I mean, it's not the biggest thing in the world. It's just an inconsistency with how it was back in the day, and it would only make the game easier, I suppose, if you could target the Spitfire totem or target the water elemental totem from the trash. So I'm not too discouraged. It also means that if casters can't super easily target the totem to kill it, it also means that melee have a little bit more value in a raid in tier 5, or at least in SSC, because the melee can get onto the totem quicker than a caster can, particularly if the caster is out of nameplate range, even though we have increased nameplate range. So the bonuses, in the client we have increased nameplate range, the con being that we can't macro target the totems. Oh well. So again, this looks fairly straightforward. We've killed all of the ads one by one. We kill the shaman, then the hunter and the hunter pet, and then the priest at the back of the room that we just killed. And now we're back to the boss. The reason you kill the ads first is because the boss, once he hits, I believe it's 70% HP. Once he hits 70, he does an enrage if the ads are not killed before him. And it was that enrage which killed the tank, as well as there being all the ads alive on top of that, which led to our demise on the first attempt. So second attempt, much cleaner, just doing it the way that it's meant to be done. And he goes down without much fuss at all. Again, this is... it'd be nicer if it was more difficult, because that's just a fairly easy one-shot, I mean, what in Classic, besides Nax, hasn't been an easy one-shot for the top 50 guilds? I don't know. It'd be nice if it was more difficult, at least for those guilds. And probably the guilds before them, if you're clearing it in one night. Anyway, we're getting onto a tangent there. So the last boss that I've done this night, so this was all in one night of PTR. My first night of playing PTR, killed everything except for Solarian, Kel'Thas, and Vash. So not too bad for most of it being a pug. So here we are on Morgrim Tidewalker. I looked up on the Warcraft logs, and yeah, I mean, it was obvious at the time, but also I've got the Warcraft logs up here because this is the only fight that I was actually logging, because I didn't have the advanced combat log being tracked. So one of the bugs with Morgrim is that he melee swings twice in a row. So I can see on this death log he hits for 4.5k into 4.7k in 0.02 seconds. So he basically does a random double attack, which should not be the case. So sometimes our tank was dying here. This is the boss that we had the most issues with, actually. We had people dying in the watery grave, I think. I died at least once in the watery grave. We also have a very bad healing team. We have no healing priest. I don't even think we had a priest for some of the other fights. Again, I'm not sure exactly how many people here are random pugs. The majority of it, I think, is the Resist Guild. Maybe between 5 and up to maybe 10 are pugs. So, yeah, the healing group wasn't. Again, it always comes down to the healers. You know, healers really can make or break your raid. It was the same in the Tempest Keep pug, and it's the same in this half resist run. Anyway, so yeah, people were dying sometimes in the graves. The tank was dying because of the double attack bug. And yeah, one thing that we noticed was these Murlocs have quite a lot of HP. So you'll see the Murlocs are alive, and they're going to stay alive for a little while. I'm not targeting one, so I can't see how much HP it has. Hopefully at some point I look at them. But yeah, it's surprising. Oh, I'm off to combat res duty again during a lust. Nice. Where any Moonkins watching this video? Because that is the life of the Moonkin. That's one of the reasons why I like going for spell damage, because you're way more flexible with your innovate. You can use it on somebody else, and if you're combat resing and rebuffing people, you're dropping a lot of mana, and if you've got crit, you're casting more starfires, and more starfires mean more mana, and haste is the same as well. But it's fun playing Moonkin. It'll be yeah, I mean, it's different, you know. And the good thing with the PTR is you can use the pre-made level 70s and just play about with any of the classes and specs that you maybe don't have the time to play and level and gear on live. So that's really fun. So my druid, I don't think I've ever played Moonkin on him yet. I've done like a couple of dungeons as Resto, and I've been Feral the rest of the time. Also, I've not played Fury at 70 once, not on the beta and not on live so far. So I actually did a little bit of Hydros with some random semi-guild run, and it was awful. But yeah, pumping as Fury warrior, so that was fun. Having all the gear makes it a lot more exciting, I think. I had like 3,000 attack power, which was fun. This is the time where we're going to see Morgrim being pulled into the corner of the room, so you can abuse the spawn range or the despawn range of the water globules. So you'll see some blue spheres come into the screen and just despawn before they reach us. So this is a very abusable spot. This is Blizz-like as far as I know, and yeah, easy peasy lemon squeezy. The call from the raid leader here when he gets to 10% or 8% is to kill the ads. I disagree. The boss would have died way sooner if we'd have just pumped the boss. But it's all good. We got him in the end. I don't remember how many wipes we had. We had quite a few, maybe 6, 8 wipes. So we had, at least when I was present in SSC, because I wasn't there for them killing Hydros, yeah, we had more wipes on Morgrim Tidewalker than we did any other boss or trash put together. It was quite insane, actually. So here we are on 370k HP. The call being to kill the ads. I don't think this is the right call, but it's whatever. Doesn't really matter. We still kill him. The biggest issues being the double attack bug and a few people dying to the graves, but we still got him down. And yeah, there'll be better videos than this coming in the future from me. This was just to let you know that I'm still around playing WoW and having fun on the PTR. The link to my Discord will be in the description. I don't ever promote my Discord, so mainly it's people from the Twitch stream, I think, joining my Discord. But hey, YouTube guys are welcome there as well. We talk about things tanking and recommendations and have a little bit of a chat amongst ourselves. And like I say, or like I've said throughout this video, I'll be making a more in-depth raid leader guide for tier 5 in the coming days, starting with SSC. I hope you are looking forward to that as much as I am. I've got nothing else to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye bye.